Hello, we are the Huron Heights Modern Learning Team. I'm Carl Hammett, teacher librarian,
And I'm Sal Greco, history teacher.
and we are with Anthony Bono in history and Dana Deutsch in computer science. The focus of our student-directed learning project was on student choice and collaboration, and we used a World War I review activity and a Holocaust activity.
We chose this focus for a number of reasons. Firstly, with respect to personalized learning, students perform better when they're allowed to pursue their own interests and passions within the curriculum. For example, students when researching soldiers in the First World War found it more engaging when they were permitted to research family members who had served in the war.
Secondly, as for collaboration, we want to use a platform where students felt more comfortable sharing their learning ideas and viewpoints. The reason for this is because in a traditional class discussion, we found that there tends to be a few personalities that dominate, and we don't hear a lot of our students who have an opinion. This may result in an inaccurate assessment of student understanding.
Moreover, this approach may be challenging when trying to incorporate student choice with the curriculum. If there's a conflict, for example, students may want to research more emotionally charged materials such as World War II and Hitler, when the curriculum also requires teachers to focus on material that may not be as interesting to the students, such as the Winnipeg General Strike.
Lastly, we were interested to see if student choice and the pursuit of personal interests would minimize cell phone distractions or tuning out.
What I liked best about it was being able to like do your own research instead of like our teacher saying, "Hey, look at this." He's like, "Look at this general situation like the Holocaust," and then from there you can just pick, "Hey, I want to learn about what happened at Auschwitz."
Taking in lectures, we usually just listen for an hour and it kind of all like goes through and then out the other ear. But like if we're researching ourselves, we remember typing it up and we remember looking at all the different topics.
We're learning Canadian history, so we're learning a lot about like Canada's impact, but a lot of us come from different cultures. Like we'd like to kind of see how the other countries fit into things. Like still with a focus on Canada, but kind of like I'm Irish. I'd like to see how they were influenced in the war. I'm sure Parwana would want to know about like
how Afghanistan was influenced in the different wars, especially.
I'm an open class discussion person.
Okay.
So I'm the type of person who likes to like get up and talk and present my ideas to a lot of people. I'm just more comfortable like talking, explaining things, and writing it down.
I like to write it better because I like to be able to organize my thoughts and reword things and go back and fix them. And like when you're having like a live discussion, you can't do that as much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like
Basically,
there's less pressure
Yeah,
when
less
you're
pressure,
typing
less
it.
stress. Don't need to worry about stuttering or whatever in front of the class.
Well, I think building off of what Tessa was saying, like on technology, you have the ability to go back and fix the errors that you made. Whereas if you're just talking in class and you start studying, or you're halfway through your idea and you realize it's not what you wanted to say, it's kind of hard to go back.
I feel like just like being teenagers, we have a lot of anxiety about what other people think about us. So being able to change how you word things and come off like exactly how you want to is a lot like easier on the mind.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes you're just afraid if other people actually agree with you or disagree. Like if they disagree, then you can't do anything about it. But like if it's on a Padlet, no matter what, you're fine because you don't have to see their emotions while you're actually speaking in front of the class.
So
I can definitely, being growing up Jewish, I learned about the Holocaust like from when I was 4, I believe, and then coming into class, instead of studying the same thing that I know for a very long time, I got to go forward and look at like scientific experiments and things that I never knew before because it wasn't really of religious importance.
And like a lot of times when we do talk about the Holocaust, it's mainly the Jewish because that was the main point of it. But as someone who's not straight, I was able to look at like how gay people were treated back then and the effects that they had, the camps had on them, and like afterwards. So I was able to find something that we don't really talk about in class because it seems to be more a taboo subject.
Just seeing the changes in diversity, especially as even from not being a Jewish but a Muslim perspective, from someone who's Muslim, like you'll understand the how they were treated, and you can really connect to what they were going through back then, and even not even back then, but still today. Like there are those kind of points where diversity isn't quite treated properly.
Based on our student choice-centered and collaborative strategies, we made the following observations. Here are a couple of the pros. Number one, it encouraged student risk-taking, with their ideas, and thus it encouraged greater independence and confidence in one's ability.
Secondly, this also permitted students to play a role as teacher vis-a-vis their classmates.
Thirdly, we found that cell phone distraction was minimized, but not eliminated. Student feedback revealed that they had greater engagement as opposed to the lecture format.
And fourth, as we heard in the video, students were able to explore their diversity within this setting.
Here are a couple of areas of improvement that we found. Number one, students need to be more critical of their sources. They shouldn't just rely on the top 3 search results of their Google parameters.
Secondly, they must be aware of the variety of the digital resources and the different domains when researching, for example, using .gov, .org, or .edu.
And lastly, students would benefit from consolidating their information as a class after sharing their research.